Welcome back to Outside the Beltway. I'm John Fredericks, and I'm your blowtorch of free speech in America. Thank you for being with us today. Well, early voting starts in Pennsylvania in 32 days. It starts everywhere. It's not voting day. It's voting month, voting 6 months, voting whatever. And there's some states, I know it's starting in the first week in September, voting goes on for 3 months. This whole thing is absurd, but it is what it is, and we got to deal with reality. Joining me now is Ashley Hayek. Ashley is the executive director of America First Works. Ashley, thanks for being with us. Let's just go right to it. All of our focus right now, mine, is in Pennsylvania. This is where I live. All of our bus tour effort is in 2 states now, Pennsylvania and Georgia. Trump wins Georgia and Pennsylvania, he's president. That's all I care about. Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan. Hope we win them all. But all you got to do is win Georgia and Pennsylvania, keep our core states, which we're going to do. Trump gets 270, he's president. That's all we got to do, right? So 2 states, that's where I'm going to be. I wanted to have you on today because you really get politics in Pennsylvania, especially in Bucks County, an area that Trump has to do very well, and we got to get the turnout there. This is suburbs outside of Philadelphia. Typically Republican, haven't always gone our way lately. Give us a deep dive into Bucks County. What do you see there, Ashley Hayek?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to thank you so much for doing the hard work that you do, bringing the truth. Right now, there's so much disinformation out there that for people to be able to see you across that state, I think it helps understand the importance of Pennsylvania and then also Georgia. And what we saw was a really big shift from Kamala Harris in the strategy. Remember, Joe Biden was focused on Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. She's focused on Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia. We have spent a lot of time in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. Fortunately, there's a lot of places across the country that don't have very strong political leadership. Bucks County does. County Chairwoman Pat Paprick has done an amazing job recruiting poll watchers, poll workers. In that county, we finally seen a flip in voter registration, which is absolutely fantastic. But going back and looking at that particular county, starting at the school board level, we have seen that what happens from a policy perspective in Bucks County usually sets the tone for the rest of the state. One example, if you look at early vote, in 2023 and actually earlier this year, so let me go back to 2023 first. In November of 2023, there was an election for the county commission seats. A couple things happened. Number one, the Democrat National Committee had influencers tagging those local races and elevating, bad MAGA, abortion, etc. What does the DNC care about Bucks County, Pennsylvania? What are those national influencers? Well, those local candidates were able to say, my race is so important in Bucks County that the national people are paying attention to me. And they were able to raise a lot more money, and they actually flipped the county commission in Bucks County last fall. Earlier this year, there was a school board election. The amount of early votes that were cast, it was gone by the time the early votes were done. The Republican candidate did not have enough votes at all to overcome the amount of votes that the left banked before Election Day. So early vote is going to be absolutely critical. You just had Ambassador Carla Sands on your program. She's incredible. She's been a very vocal advocate for the early vote program. We are really focused on that. Early vote in Pennsylvania starts in about 33 days. So we need to completely, focus on that. Obviously, when a country like India can get all of their voting done on one day, you would think our country would be able to do that too. But we need to use every single tool in our toolkit to make sure that we win and we bank the vote. 10 years ago in Pennsylvania, there were more Republicans that were casting mail ballots than Democrats. Now it's flipped. What this tells me is that we are capable of doing it. We just lost trust in the system. We can do it, and we will do it, and we will win. We have an on-the-ground operation in Pennsylvania. If anyone is interested in doing any sort of door knocking, we're focused on Allegheny, Bucks County. Allegheny is Pittsburgh area, but also Bucks County. And there are also some neighboring counties, Montgomery County, Chester County, Delaware County. They're all the suburbs of Philadelphia. We are seeing so much crime in the city. It's impacting all of the communities, so we need all hands on deck. is going to be incredibly important. And if you don't mind, John, I want to mention one more program that AFW just launched. We have a letter writing program. It's called Read, Write, and Win. We have seen the downward spiral of states like California because of all of the radical policies, especially because of leaders like Kamala Harris. And there's such an importance of the suburban women's vote in determining our next leader. And so what we're doing, we have Read, Write, and Win. We are launching an initiative with 1 million women who live in non-swing states, sending letters to places like Bucks County in Pennsylvania, written by volunteers with a compelling story of the damage that has been caused in places like San Francisco and in states like California. And those letters will be a testament on why we need to send an America First person so we don't have the Californication of the rest of the country. So anybody who wants to get involved, we'd love to have them be a part of that program. And we just have a lot of work to do and not very much time left.
Okay, so we're all eyes on Pennsylvania, and the Trump campaign on the ground has done a really good job here. We've got a bunch of these Trump Force 47 operations open. I'm going to go over those in the next couple of days. We're going to try to get the bus out to visit every one of them. We've got a bunch of volunteers there. So I like what we're doing in Pennsylvania. I like the ground game. Our Pennsylvania, to be honest with you, our Pennsylvania state director for the Trump campaign, Ashley Wyke, I always say her last name wrong, but her first name is Ashley Wallakuch, is actually one of the best state directors in the country. They put her in Pennsylvania. So I'm very confident there. Let's talk about Minnesota for a second. Primaries there yesterday. Explain to me, how does Ilhan Omar, who hates America, Ashley, who's a communist, right? She hates the country, hates Jews, anti-Semite. How does she get 62,000 Democrat votes in a primary? Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, so there were a lot of concerns about her reelection before. AIPAC poured tens of millions of dollars into ousting her fellow squad members, Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman, and but they stayed out of the race at this time. Her fundraising machine brought in a staggering $6.2 million compared to her challenger, who brought in $1.4 million. Remember, in Minneapolis, it's the largest Somali population in the country. There's also a lot of questions around the integrity of the election. When the votes were coming in last night, nothing was reported until 9:30, and then all of a sudden, boom, she wins. Minnesota also has some very interesting laws where you can have that same day voter registration. You can have someone vouch for you as part of your proof of identification or residency. In 2020, there was like over 200,000 people who registered on election day. So, it's really unfortunate that this woman will likely be reelected in November. However, I think it's also important to point to her and say, this is what will happen in the rest of the country if we don't take our country back. She is a warning sign. She is the worst of the worst. And everything she said last night in her speech mimicked Kamala Harris's talking points. So if you think she's radical, she's about, there's no daylight between her and Kamala Harris. And that should be a warning sign to anyone who loves our country.
Tell me about, is Minnesota in play? Royce White won the Republican nomination yesterday. So we appreciate that. Royce White getting he's the official nominee, so that's a good thing. So let me just ask you this straight out: do we have any hope now in Minnesota with Walz, or is that basically gone to the D's there?
Yeah. So one thing that's interesting is there was a 7%, like you've mentioned, a 7% jump on the voter file on election day alone. I do think it's a state that the left takes for granted. White is interesting. He's a former NBA player. He loves President Trump. I do think this is a state that we started looking very seriously at about a year ago in terms of, is there an opportunity? I think there is an opportunity. It's interesting. Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank came out and said the only person that Tim Walz has done a good job for in the state are government workers, because he's been a great governor for Texas and South Dakota and Florida, because everyone from the state has left. There's no prosperity there. There's no opportunity. So again, when you look at places like Wisconsin, who also has a terrible governor, and Minnesota with Tim Walz, the executive leadership is absolutely awful. And I do think that there is an opportunity for us to take back Minnesota. One thing that has always bothered me is when Republicans lose a state, when we don't do well, we give up, we stop, the ground game stops, and we concede that to the left. Look at Colorado, for example. We need to double down. That's what the left does. They still invest millions and millions of dollars in Texas. And if there's an opportunity for us to start taking some of these states back, Virginia, Minnesota, Colorado, New Mexico, I think we need to be a little bit more on the offense.
Okay, so let's just wrap this up, Ashley. I really want to thank you for your hard work. You can follow Ashley at America First Works, at America First Works. And Ashley, thank you. Thank you for your time, and thank you for all you do. And let's see if we can win Pennsylvania. If we win Pennsylvania, Trump wins. Ashley, thank you. Appreciate you. Hey, want to tell everybody, Wellness Company Emergency Medical Kit. This is, if you don't have this, I don't know. I've used this now 5 times. This is like the greatest thing that I have. And it's so easy to do. Just go to TWC, the Wellness Company, twc.health/Godzilla. twc.health/Godzilla. Put in promo code Godzilla. You can get 10% off. All of your medications are in here. There's a guidebook. If anything happens to you, you get a virus, you get back pain, anything, it's all in here. It tells you exactly what to do. There's a guidebook. You get all the medicines with it. You don't have to go to the drugstore. You get ivermectin. You get hydroxychloroquine. All the things that CVS or Walgreens is not even going to allow you to buy. All of it in here for you and your family. twc.health/Godzilla. twc.health/Godzilla. Promo code Godzilla. 10% off.